you claim Christianity, to really take a look at how you can get involved with prison ministry, how you can get involved with this. And it's not all, every prison ministry isn't doing church inside of prison. That is some people's calling.
Hey.
It's not the only thing that needs to be done. And what do you make?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. I was like, oh my gosh, I was trying to hurry up and get Micah put away.
It's so quiet. I can't tell if it's working or not. Are you guys there? Okay. Okay.
I don't see it live.
Okay. Let's give it a second. Hold on 1 second. Oh, there you go. I think it's coming now, guys. Here we come, guys. There we go. Let's go ahead and wave at the audience, guys. Here we go. We are live, everybody. We are live. All right, guys, we are live. We are live. Do everybody see it on the live? Hey, guys. Day two. We're going to give everybody a second. Guys, there we go. Let's go ahead and wave at the audience, guys. Here we go. We are live, everybody. We are live.
I'm trying to make sure I was able to share.
Give everybody a second. We are live. Do everybody see it on the live? Okay, we're going to give everybody a second to log in. They're logging in. Seems like we got a little static for some reason. Does it sound clear, or can you hear that back sound?
I can't hear anything.
It's better now. It was a drag, but it's better.
Okay. Facebook world, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We are live, everybody. We're right on time. We're going to day 2 with our panel, It Takes a Village. We're going to give everybody a minute or so to log in. We have a wonderful panel group for you guys this evening. We have a great moderator, and we're almost ready to go. Going to give you a couple minutes to log in. I see the numbers rising. We are excited, guys. As you guys log in, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have a recap of Tuesday. We're going to have an introduction of the panelists, and then the moderator will take over. Hey, Facebook world, thank you for logging in. Thank you for joining us, guys. We see you, you're coming on in. We're going to get started in 60 seconds. We're going to be ready to roll, guys. We are going to be ready to roll. Thank you for joining us, guys, and we're going to continue these discussions. That's one of the issues we see in our community. We are afraid to have conversations, and we got to have conversations about all types of topics. That's the only way we're going to get down to the bottom line to figure out what's going on in our community. Our job is really to talk and have the conversations. If we can get some solutions out of this, great. But if we get some good conversations and kind of feed off each other and make new relationships like these ladies are doing tonight, that is great as well. We are almost ready. I see the numbers. They are ready, guys. We're excited. Tonight, we're going to try to let the audience get a little bit more involved. We're going to let them ask some of their questions. As they're logging in, one of the biggest things that we saw on Tuesday night, I wanted to jump in, but I didn't jump in. Audience, the ladies are talking about serious issues. They're talking about raising their boys. They're talking about raising their girls. And I believe in God. Most definitely I believe in God. But guys, I think we're looking for a little bit more than just God. We're looking for a little bit more than love, because with a mother, most definitely they believe in God, and most definitely they believe in love. But sometimes, if you heard the panelists on Tuesday, we need a little bit extra. God is always going to be there. Love is always going to be there. But what about that child who we just can't seem to handle when we've done all we can do? When we got to go work a 12-hour shift. Come on now. We're loving them and we believe in God, and it's still very difficult. So that's good, and we need it most definitely, but we got to really have a real conversation about what are we going to do about little Monty? When little Monty is out of control, when he's bucking up on his dad and his dad don't want to lay hands on him. Now, I would never do it. I said, I don't want to lay hands on him. I don't ever want to be in that position. But what happens when he steals my car? What happens when he decides to go use drugs and things like that? These are serious things. So again, you got to have God. You have to pray. You have to love him. But it's bigger than that. There's some missing pieces. And that's what these ladies are going to do tonight. And they're going to have that conversation. So let's get started. Hello, Facebook world. Hello, Twitter. Hello, everybody. We'll get started. This is day 2. The panel, It Takes a Village. The panel, It Takes a Village. And we're going to go ahead and have a quick recap. So on day 1, we heard from many different mothers. They talked about management issues with their boys and girls. They talked about drug issues with their boys and girls. They talked about how the school system helped, but they also talked about how the school system failed them. Of course, you know, I've worked in the school system. This is my 20th year, believe it or not. And I can see exactly what they're saying. Sometimes we were successful. Sometimes me, myself, and the rest, we failed them in many cases. They talked about places like Indian Rivers, different organizations who provide services. Sometimes they do not follow through. Sometimes they do not follow up. And sometimes they lose our boys and girls as well. We talked about the churches as well. The churches have to do a little bit more. The fathers, you know I'm never gonna knock you, and I love you. And I was reading one post, a guy said, what about the fathers? See, I'm gonna turn it around. Yeah, what about the fathers? Yeah, I know the fathers were not invited to this because it was about the mothers, but you posed a great question. What about the fathers? Where are you at, fathers? That's the question you should have been asking. Where are we? We cannot leave these mothers to do it on their own. They're strong, they're super women, but we got to do what we're supposed to do. And I get it. So I know some of my fathers probably upset with me right now because I just said that. But guys, we got to do better. We have to do better, and we have to help them. We cannot keep allowing them to do all the work for us, no matter what the reason the cause is. So yeah, I agree with that guy. He said, what about the fathers? Most definitely, what about the fathers? Let's get it, fathers. We got to do better. All right, guys, so that was a recap of what we had. Now we're going to turn it over to the moderator. We'll let the moderator allow everybody about 60 seconds to introduce themselves. Then the moderator will introduce herself. Then she's going to jump right into the conversation. Welcome to day 2 of It Takes a Village. Here we go, moderator.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Linebarger. I'm Adrienne McCollum, the owner and operator of Inspire Counseling, which is a private practice for mental health treatment. I specialize in women's issues with a focus on millennials and Black women. I'm also a mother, but I'm a new mother. My son turned 2 in March of this year. And so his dad and I are still together technically, but he's working abroad. So I still kind of face some of the same issues as a new mother with a small child that perhaps some of you have already experienced. So I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to hear your perspectives and some of the challenges that you've had, and learn as much as I can from you all. So It Takes a Village. Again, thank you to Dr. Linebarger for creating this space, because as you were saying earlier in the beginning, you know, we got to just start at least with a conversation. We may not have all of the solutions right now, but at least creating space for us to be vulnerable, for us to be transparent, and have these conversations that will hopefully lead to solutions at some point. So my role tonight is as the moderator, and I will do my best to keep everybody, you know, mindful of our time limit and to just facilitate this really important discussion. So I will go ahead and turn it over and allow the panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. Do you mind starting for us, Mrs. Tice?
I don't mind. My name is Keeval Tice. I am a single mother of one son. He's 17 years old, Jordan, and he is going to be a senior this year at Hillcrest High School. And one of the questions you asked was, you know, why we wanted to be a part of this panel. For me, I know that I've never publicly talked about my trials and triumphs of being a single mom, like on a platform like this. And I thought that this was a really good idea. So I was very eager to share my story. Hope maybe I can help someone or just relate to them and hopefully learn something too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Mrs. Taylor. And yes, please tell us why you want to be a part of tonight's discussion.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tawana Aramu. I got married recently in December, so I'm an official, I guess, newlywed. So I actually wanted to be a part of the panel because I wanted to give, I guess, my perspective. I am a mother of a 18-year-old. She just graduated from high school and she'll be attending the Tennessee State University this year. And for me, my whole entire time was a single parent. Now, I did a great job co-parenting with her dad, but I just wanted to see if I could share some of my advice about how I got through the struggle. So that's pretty much the reason why I wanted to be a part of the panel.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Ms. Barron?
Hello, I'm Valerie Barron. I'm a mother of 3 sons. My oldest is 25, my middle son is 22, and my youngest son is 16. I was successfully able to raise the first 2 without much intervention or any help. It's just my 16-year-old is screaming for it. And when I saw this panel, I just thought that this would be a good way, like Ms. Tice said, to just publicly share my frustrations, my fears, and just obtain and give any advice that I can. Just be open.
Okay, once again, thank you. I'm excited to hear more about what you guys all have to say about your experiences. All right, Mrs. Chandler, you are up. We're going to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you want to be on the panel tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this platform. My name is Q Chandler, and I am a native of Tuscaloosa. I am a single woman with 3 children. I have a 12-year-old, almost teenager. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I have a 5-year-old son. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to share some of my experiences, but also learn from mothers that have older children, because I have a ways to go. And also, I wanted to be a part of the conversation to change the narrative of how society views single women with children, and to encourage people to break all of those stigmas and stereotypical views of single mothers. So I'm just glad to be a part of this conversation.
Thank you. That's important that you even brought that up about society's view of single mothers, and hopefully we'll get a chance tonight to really talk about what that looks like and how do we cope with that? How do we navigate breaking down those stigmas, those negative stigmas that are attached, and the barriers that exist between us and those who are have a different story. So thank you. All right, Dr. Truelove.
Hi, excuse me, guys. I've been listening and talking all day, but I wanted to be a part of this. I'm Dr. Sheila Truelove, educator, mom, author, all that good stuff. But in the heart of it all is being a single parent. I have 12-year-old twins, girls, and I have a 13-year-old son. I've been a single parent since my twins were 2. And so, I'm just interested to kind of talk out about it and just really share, my story about the trials and tribulations, because people don't get it. They see you up front, they see you smiling, they see but they don't understand like the struggle that's there. And like you said, I'm all about statistics. I will not be one. My children will not. It's because the single parent statistics are just skyrocketed. So I just want to come on and just interact with everybody and just tell my story, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. All right, Ms. Hughes.
Hi, I am Rashidra Hughes, and I'm a mother of two. I have an 18-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. My daughter graduated from high school last year, and she attended Tuskegee University, and my son attends Tuscaloosa County High School. He'll be a sophomore this year. I am a paraeducator for Tuscaloosa County School System, and that is the greatest job on earth to me. I love my spray beard babies. But I've been a single mother the whole 18 years. And it is not an easy job, but just as the title of this says, it takes a village. And God knows I have a blessed village.
Okay, so I see another person, Monica. I don't see the last name. Can you hear us? Monica? Okay.
She's not on the panel. She's not on the panel.
Okay, so she's just kind of hanging out with us. Well, hey, Monica. All right. So we also have Mr. Gerald, who is, I'm assuming, our guest speaker tonight. So we'll see him later on.
Yeah, we'll come in later on.
Okay. Good. Again, thank you all. Is my sound bad? What I need to do? Let me try to put my. Let's see. While I get my sound together, I do want to go. What about now? Okay, good. Thank you so much for that feedback. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the questions. I'll go ahead and start with Ms. Chandler. You mentioned society's view of single mothers. Can we start there? Can you tell us more about your experience with that, what that looks like to you?
Right, absolutely. So when I say stigmas placed on women with children that are single, just quickly, I believe that most women, they don't want to be, single and raising children on their own. However, we do try our best to make things work for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't. And so we're viewed as someone who is weak, we're struggling, or I've had people walk up to me in the grocery store and say, "Oh my gosh, you have 3 children, bless your heart." And so sometimes it's kind of offensive in a way for people to, offer those words instead of saying, "Oh, wow, you have some beautiful children," or, "I don't see how, you're doing an amazing job with your children." So if I could tell society or people that are viewing right now, we're fine. We're trying to do whatever it takes to make sure our children are successful and they're healthy. And just giving positive words of affirmation to women who are raising children would be helpful. So yeah, just breaking some of the language, the judgment, the stares, just a lot of those. And we have to be there to uplift one another. So hopefully we can move forward with changing those stigmas and erasing the narrative.
Okay, thank you. That was a great explanation of what you meant by that. Does anyone else share a different experience or the same experience? Want to chime in on that? The stigma attached to being a single mom?
I want to chime in on that. Can you hear me? When you're the mindset of I want my children to have and do just as much as anybody from a 2-parent household, sometimes it's, for me, I know I put a lot of pressure on myself, but after reading the research and reading the data that says, oh, your child is gonna be in prison or this and that, I worked really, really hard, probably twice as hard as anybody, to make sure I instill those things in my children that I knew that I know they need. And like you said, sometimes people do view you a different way, but at the same time, I had to come to terms with, I can't do the same thing that a 2-parent household can do. You know, I'm not, it's only me. So once you get that internalized, you can kind of go from there. But the struggles of, for me being in a faculty position at a university, it has been, you know, if I work around a lot of married couples, 2-parent households, it's, oh, poor thing. Oh, I don't see how you do all this by yourself. Oh, I don't, you know, and like we said earlier, it's God, you know, with God, all things are possible. I'm not, but at the end of the day, I try so hard not to, like, I can do my job. It has nothing to do with me being a single parent. It has nothing to do with, you know, maybe the way I come to work is different. Maybe I've been up all night. Maybe I had to finish paying bills, fix the washer and dryer, figure out this, pay that bit, all the 9 yards, cry, pray, do all that before I came. So I don't have the luxury of coming into conversations with my colleagues about my nanny and my this, because I don't have that, you know. So that's a different type of spin. And when people constantly look at you like, oh, you're so strong, you're this, you're that, yeah, but it's a lot that goes behind that. So I would just tell people, like, everybody that's a single parent, their story is different. I mean, I have had some very good support through the years, but at the end of the day, it all lies back on me. And I just think something as minor as saying, you know, you're doing a good job, or that goes far for me, you know. But statistically speaking, we do have to break those barriers. Trying to be in 2 or 3 different schools at one time, trying to handle, you know, talk to 3 or 4 different teachers. I mean, it's a lot that goes into being a single parent. But I do want to just commend all of us, because we're here. Hey.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else on that topic about the stigma, Ms. Taylor?
Well, just listening to them, like my story, I actually married my high school sweetheart, and I actually thought that we were going to be married forever. But lo and behold, life happened. And when life happened, I became single. And I did not want to be a stereotype or a statistic, because of course, that's what everybody expects, that you're a single mother raising a child by yourself, a Black woman raising a child. So I actually kept his name for, it's been 21 years now. So I recently just changed my name when I got married, but I kept his name. We have been divorced since 2002. 2003 we've been divorced, but I kept his last name only because I had a fear of, I didn't want people to stereotype my daughter. I didn't want her to go to school and then people see that we have 2 different names. So just so that she wouldn't be a statistic, or we wouldn't be something that people stared and gawked at, I maintained his name until I recently got married in December. I personally think and feel like women, we just kind of need to let go of that. If I had to give myself some advice, I probably would have changed my name back to my maiden name. It would have did a lot of things for me, and it probably would have empowered me and even empowered my daughter. So sometimes we just can't look at what other people may think or how they may view us, and we just got to step outside the box. Because for me, carrying that name so long, he actually wants his name back, like Ike Turner. But however, I carried it, and I was like, I'm gonna hold it until, you know, I get married or something happens, then I, you know, I'll release the name. But thinking on it now, I should have released the name. I could have regained my power back and been able to walk forward and show my daughter some kind of sense of pride.
That's interesting. The whole idea of, should I give the name back after a divorce, and what is the impact that might have on my children or on myself. You know, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else on that? Share that experience or another experience as it pertains to the stigma attached to being a single mom or being divorced.
As you stated about the whole name thing, I've always had my maiden name. I don't get married until November. So therefore, getting a phone call from the school and they say, Miss Harris. No, it's not me, but I'm his mother, you know, and a lot of times what I've seen, just me personally, they won't call because they feel like, oh, her name is Roshidra Hughes and his name is Isaiah Harris. So she probably ain't even gonna answer the phone if something is going on. And I've actually had a teacher to say that was so often the situation that, it just didn't faze her. But no, I'm a very concerned parent. They automatically think that we're not concerned parents and that we don't want to be a part of our children's experience with school. And it's not just school, it's like if they were in some organizations and things of that sort. So the whole name thing was a really big thing for me. And I did give my children their father's name on because I felt like maybe I can create the fairy tale world to where, we could all have the same last name. But now in my house, it's just going to be like a shake up of a bunch of last names. But I'm okay with that because it took, just like she said, it takes so much. You hear what everybody is saying and how you should do stuff. And, so you really don't know how, because there's no book written for that. Of course, we know about the Bible, but, they told us we weren't supposed to have no children without a husband or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? It's like we're looked at as if we're, like she said, we're weak, but we're made to have to be so strong. And stuff down to a last name are things that bother me as a single parent. So I understand what everybody just said. I get it. And that last name thing, especially when it comes down to school, is a problem. Don't assume because my name is Roshidra Hughes. I know how this sounds in so many worlds, and I love my name. So don't take that as if I'm this person whatever, y'all, he's yours, go on, do what you got. That's not who I am. I'm a very concerned parent. And a lot of times at the beginning of the year, when teachers get that email from me, hi, I am, it's confusing to them. But I still make it known that is who I am. And my children's education and things that go on with them in school and things they have to do, it is very important to me. Because for me, in my household, failure is not an option. It's just not an option.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. You do have a nice name, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question. I'm going to ask Miss Barron or Miss Tice to chime in on this one. We haven't heard from you guys yet, or you ladies yet. What has been your greatest challenge as a mother? So we've talked about the stigma already. What else comes up for you when you look over the course of your time as a mother? What's been the greatest challenge for you?
For me, it was trying to compete with what my youngest son, and as he went to middle school. I never had this problem with my older two sons, but I was trying to provide for 3 children at one time on one salary. So he would say, well, Mama, I want these Jordans. Well, okay, cool. Because everybody else was wearing them. So he knew somebody who could get them out of the trunk or something, so but he wore those shoes to West Lawn, and it traumatized him the way he was talked about. They immediately knew that those weren't the $160, $170, so it was, Mama, I can't wear those, and then it was like, well, I felt like it was that was the moment that I lost him for the first time. And I say that because I couldn't provide the things that he felt like I should have been able to provide. So I started working 2 jobs, just trying to overcompensate. So I left my job I was working at the time for Tuscaloosa City Schools. I would leave there and I would go to Belk and I would work. Well, I was able to buy you the polo. I was able to buy you the clothes, but I wasn't there, if that makes sense. So that's where I felt like, okay, I'm trying to provide so you don't get talked about at school, but then I'm relying on you to be responsible at home. And you're not being that, so you're going around to the basketball court. This is where you get introduced to the older guys. This is where these older guys are telling you, nah, you don't worry about what your mama's saying. This is the way you need to go. That's when I started losing.
Wow, that's hard. That's hard. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Tice?
For me, one of the biggest challenges, excuse me, started, I guess, at the very beginning when, you know, you realize that there's this little life and that you are responsible for it. When I graduated from the University of Alabama, I was 7 months pregnant with my son. And I was, you know, of course, I was young. My parents were not living in Tuscaloosa. I was here and his dad was here. And me and his dad were not together. And so once I had him, of course, everyone knows, you know, when you're in college, at that time, you could still be on your parents' insurance. But once you get pregnant, you get dropped. So I was immediately dropped from under my, you know, my parents' umbrella. So I didn't have insurance. I was going to school. I wasn't working. How am I going to take care of this person and finish school and, you know, do all of this? So thank God I do have very present, very, very active, very wonderful parents. But at that moment, I remember when I gave birth to him and I was actually down at the food stamp in the WIC office, and I had gotten WIC, I guess, during the time that I was pregnant, because, you know, like I said, I wasn't working, and so I went down there and I was sitting there, and I think my son may have been about a few weeks old or something like that, and I was getting treated very, very bad. And I called my mom, and my mom was in North Carolina, and I was crying, and I was like, Mom, I don't belong in here. And my mom, tough mom, she said, yes, you do. She said, you really do. You know, you need that. And that's what you need. So, you know, I, from then on, had to figure out, okay, as Q was saying, I'm not going to be like a stereotype. Like, this is not going to be what I'm going to be, you know? So that was the main challenge for me, is figuring out, how am I going to raise this boy into a man, raise him into something that I have absolutely no idea how to do. You know, how am I going to be present in his life as a strong mother, but not labeled as, you know, the so independent woman that she does not need anyone, you know, because it's a fine line there. And so that was just one of the early challenges that I had, is trying to lay that groundwork out. And my son is 17, and you are still laying the ground, like you are still raising your children. 17 years later, I am still raising him. So it's a constant challenge. You can't really pinpoint, you know, one specific challenge. It's an ongoing thing.
Thank you for sharing that. I didn't realize my mute button wasn't on, but anyway, I'm over here like, yeah. Anyway, so thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to chime in on just your challenges and, you know, or respond to any of the other panelists that have shared?
One of the things that I strive so hard, and it was probably because I did my own personal development, I had this saying that I want my children to have the intangible things, you know, more so than that, because I knew one income, there are going to be some things I can't get you. You know, I can't go out and buy this, but if I build your self-esteem up, if I teach you how to be positive, if I teach you how to be okay, you know, there was a time I went on the homeless spell. My children had one pair of shoes. All 4 of our clothes were in one tub. So I had to teach you early that as long as you're clean, as long as you are believing in yourself, it doesn't matter. It just, you know, I made sure I put that in them. And I never focused on what somebody had or what they don't have, or what they, not to say, you know, they didn't notice, but because my mentality was a little bit different, I could care less about your shoes. You got on some, you know, but I would have to go to the, what is it? consignment store, like every other day, just trying to find a little bit of something, trying to make it off $150 a week with the 4 of us. So things were not that important to us, you know, and I know that that's a huge challenge with single parents, because we want our children to have and to do and to, you know, be a part like everybody else. But it's just some things that I had to come to terms with. I can't be in 3 places at one time. It's just physically not possible. You know, just what is the most important thing that I can do and give to my children that's going to help them 10 years down the road, 3 years down the road, tomorrow, the next minute, you know, just instilling that in them. And I think sometimes we lose focus of it because we want them to be just as good but when you give them their own standard, it really does, it helps their self-esteem, and it just helps them. And it helped me. Like one of y'all talked about the name. I was still going to be True Love Smith. You know, me and my ex-husband been divorced 10 years now, and it was only because, you know, I'm teaching and I want them, all of us have, but I came to the conclusion, I said, you know what, I'm true. I want my name back, you know, like take my power back kind of thing. So that's what I just, every day, I mean, you know, and I get what Ms. Barron was saying. I'm like, I don't even try. I'm not trying to go buy you $100 pair of shoes. I'm just not going to do it. Now you might earn it, but I had to do that early simply because of the pushback, you know. So I just feel, for me, it's just giving them that intangible. Like, you got to be okay when you get rejected. You got to be okay when you don't have what everybody else has. You have to be okay with it. And it's an ongoing, like Ms. Ty said, it's an ongoing thing. Like, it's not just one time I say this. This is something we had to lay the foundation constantly. So it's, yeah, it's a challenge all the way around. It's a lot of challenges. So, and we're making it.
And I just wanted to add, Dr. True Love, because I don't want you to get the impression that I gave my children those same intangible things as well. The thing that I found my overcompensation came in, it's because my son was considered a special education student. He didn't have, he grew up, he was very asthmatic. So it started medically, but he also didn't have the same abilities as my older 2 boys did. So he doesn't have the understanding. He doesn't have the IQ that they have. So he didn't have the wherewithal to understand, well, my mama doing all she can. Thank God my oldest 2 did. So, I mean, I don't want you to go to get it. Please don't make the mistake of thinking that I instill all of that in my children. I grew up in a household. I grew up where values and morals were in place. And I've never shortchanged my children on that. I was just giving that example that, you know, he was already ostracized. He was already talked about. So I felt like, what can I do as a parent to make it better? You know, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to put a Band-Aid on it. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I want you to feel good about yourself. Yeah. It already makes you feel like crap every day anyway. You know, so it's just harder for Black boys. It is.
My son is 13, and I get the overcompensating part because I just gave up another job. I get trying to, you know, I'm going to make sure. And I guess mine was like I said, and I probably overcompensated in education, if it's a such thing. You know, no, we're going to the library. We're going to be at the library 3 hours a day. We're going to read that book. Hold on, did you check everything off? You know, I have been like, now I might not buy you shoes, but you're going to read this book.
That's right.
So it's like, you have to have this. You have to have your knowledge. If you don't have anything else, you got to have your knowledge. So there's my overcompensation. I do, you know, they're probably just about, we got to say our declarations. Say your declarations, right? You know,
amen.
That's my over, and I'm not going to say don't take all that, but I just hope years down the road, they probably will say, why didn't you get this and you made us do that? I don't know, but I think it's helping. But yes, you know, I didn't mean to that example just kind of stood out, but I know that each one of us are putting morals and values in our children. People, you know, from a single parent to another one, I would never, like, we all, however we do it, we're making it, you know? Right. So I know that's the first and foremost. Like, we want them to have that. Like, that's just, they may not see it. And I've been a special education teacher for years, so I get that too, you know.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Ultimately, it just comes down to how do you find that balance on your own is what I'm
Right.
hearing from both of you. You know, it's just, you know, you've got the moral side of things and education and teaching them values, good manners, and then you just have that other side where you want your children to be happy. You want them to have what the other kids have and experience what the other kids experience. And I think you both are pretty much on the same page in that regard. So
Right.
thank you both for sharing that. And if no one else has a burning desire to comment on that, we can kind of move on. Dr. Linebarger, are you seeing anything in the comments?
Yeah, basically what I'm seeing in the comments, I mean, everybody's being very, very positive. You guys are rock stars. They're basically just, I guess, they're wooed by your strength and your encouragement and your desire, you know, to be great mothers. So I haven't seen anything that's out of the ordinary yet. Hey, but let me throw one out there to you guys real quick.
Okay.
And I'm guilty of this. As an educator, I worked in our schools for a long time, and I was guilty of saying this too. That's why it's interesting listening to you mothers. We always used to say, well, they're saying Johnny don't have anything, but he came to school with Jordans on. And I remember being one of those people, like, I didn't say it out loud, but I was looking at Johnny. I'm like, what? Johnny live over such and such place, and they talking about they don't have anything, but he got Jordans on. I don't even have any Jordans on. Like,
Now you know what it is.
like, do anybody want to hit on that a little bit more to us people who on the outside looking in, pointing the finger? Because there are a lot of people saying it, you know, and we're thinking it and wondering it.
Can I just hit on it real quick?
Go ahead.
So I guess my response would probably be just being a single woman, you know, working 2 and 3 jobs. How do you not know we didn't have a coupon, or we could have got a family member to purchase those shoes, or we probably took something out of our home to get those shoes? There's so many different examples that I can use. So it's always easy to judge on the outside looking in. So you don't really realize how long a single mother or single father had to save in order to purchase whatever necessities that their children are awarded with. So that would be my response to that.
I guess I would like to share on that as well. I've been an educator. This is my 16th year. So it's my 16th year being a teacher. So I kind of understand Dr. Linebarger when he says that, because not only have I been an educator for 16 years, but I started out teaching in, I guess it would be more of a mixed population of white and black, the dynamics of the school. And then for the last 4 years, my daughter decided she wanted to go to the Jefferson County International Baccalaureate School, and she did not want me anywhere near her. She wanted to be able to have her whole high school experience without me, I guess, touching the surface of it. Unbeknownst to her, she didn't know that her teachers were going to email me and call me because we were all good friends. But I left there and I went to an urban school. And some of the mothers, as you guys were talking on the panel, I could understand, like Miss Barron, who talked about her son wanted the shoes because everybody else wants the shoes. It is just a different culture. And I've noticed that since I've been there. Most children who go to predominantly black schools, they care so much about appearance. And I'm not for sure why. Like even days when I go to work, they'll say, Miss Taylor, you didn't do your edges. I'm like, these are my edges, baby. You know, don't worry about Miss Taylor's edges. You know, you need to stop worrying about people's appearance and worry about the book. So it's certain things that children who attend, you know, urban schools in the city, they just have this tendency to pick at each other. And I remember telling my kids this past year, I almost got in trouble and got sent to the board because we had a conversation. They were picking at each other about, if you don't have an iPhone, if you got a Samsung versus iPhone, you know, you're not good if you don't have an iPhone. So that then provoked kids to want to talk against others. So I had to have a whole conversation with them about, you all do know that you attend a Title I school. and what that means. This Title I school, which is 95%, 90 to 95% Title I, means that your parents report to the government that they cannot either feed you, put a roof over your head, or give you some type of medical attention. So we don't have any room to pick at each other in here because we're all in the same position. I think that if we start at home by telling our children, not just your own, but everybody telling their children that there's certain things that you shouldn't mock other people about, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. She wouldn't be having this conversation about her child being special needs and him wanting this special pair of Jordans that everybody else at the school has, because there's no need to do that. I guess I just come from humble beginnings, and where I grew up, you know, you got two pair of shoes. You got the school pair of shoes when school started, and then those transformed into the shoes that you played in for the summertime. So I never had an opportunity to pick because I was getting hand-me-downs anyway. So I think if we can get our kids to focus more on what's important, then we won't have to worry about these small problems like that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that can be really hard, just even as, you know, part of my upbringing, you know, was low income, and it's hard, you know, even with a mom or the village that we will talk about here in just a minute, or trying to instill those values, the influence of culture, you know, and media makes it really, really hard for that to like sink in and make sense to somebody that's 13, 14 years old, trying to go through that stage of development where they're learning who they are apart from their family of origin. So it's very interesting. Okay, thank you. Let's talk about the village. The name of this series is It Takes a Village. So what does your village look like, your support? What does that look like? And in what ways are you, you know, grateful for that? And in what ways could you use more support?
For me, I know that I'm very blessed. My son has a huge village that consists of men and women. But since, you know, we're talking about being single mothers, it's so important that you have, when you're raising sons especially, it's important that you have men in your son's life. I'm thankful for first my father, you know, he stepped right in and didn't miss a beat. He treats my son as if that's his son, and you can't tell him that it's not his son. So I have since I'm in Tuscaloosa, I'm thankful from everything from my son. My son is he's a singer for one. So all the way from daycare, some of the people around the city, some of the men that I'm very grateful for are Corey Moore is one that mentored him with singing. Matthew Wilson. There's also Matthew Wilson actually started my son singing when he was actually in daycare. And Doth Proctor, who is over the Alabama Choir School. Then he's into theater. So when I look at theater, the parts of my village that encouraged him to go forward with his theater with Terrence T. Anderson was one of the first, and Joey Lay, Brent Jones. And then as far as his discipline goes, and I'm naming all of these because there's so many components. I realized that, you know, my son needed different people for, just like we all do, for different parts of his life and different things. And so, like, as far as discipline and his just basic life skills, his barber, Tavares Bonner, has been cutting his hair since he was 3. So he plays a part in that. And then, of course, he's a member of Kappa League. So all the Kappa mentors, Marcellus Brown, when he was living, he was very active in my son's life, and Leon Brown, who's a deacon at my church. And I mean, I can go on and on, but I'm very grateful that those men stepped up and they were accepting of him, and they have all had hands in helping me raise him by giving me advice and taking him under their wing. And I think it's important that we allow that as mothers. We allow that, but we also, talking to the men have to not take advantage of that. And because there's always the flip side, and you all probably know, that Q said something about, people automatically think that, we're weak or we're needy. And so unfortunately, there are men that take advantage of that. The fact that I'm a single mother, so I must need something, but the something that I need, comes with a cost, and that's not fair, to us. That's not fair to our kids, and that's not fair to the entire village or the community. So I think that it goes hand in hand. We have to allow, but the men have to take the leadership roles and not expect anything back just because these little boys are a part of our village. So we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to help raise them.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it's about 10 minutes till 9, so we do want to be mindful of that. We still have to get to Mr. Gerald. Anybody else want to real quickly, in about a minute, just kind of talk about your village real quick? Anybody want to share?
My village is absolutely amazing. My village is my family. I do have lots of friends that have stepped in to become TT Brenda, TT Nikki. And like the village aspect of life comes from my grandmother. My grandmother was the foster parent of 13 kids, and we all lived in one house. So with that being said, it was a village, literally, in one house. And my mother is the greatest, period. And my sisters, they take, right now, my nieces and nephews are at one of my other sister's house. My kids spent plenty of nights here, plenty of nights there. That, and it took people to actually want to be a part of your village, and in order to make the village work. Everybody has to work together. That's the number one thing. With my son, just like Ms. Tice said, men are vital in boys' lives. My brother-in-laws are the greatest. Football is my son's go-to thing. And it ain't nothing for them to show up at a football practice. They haven't missed a football game. All of that type stuff plays a vital role. Their fathers are not bad. They're just a little absent. They didn't check into school that day. They don't come to school often. But I'm just saying, in the absence of their fathers, their uncles stepped in, my brother-in-laws. And lo and behold, God bless me with some more greatness. My fiance has my daughter spoiled beyond measures, if that's even fair to say. And this is because they want to see me not struggle. And they want to see the children, like Dr. Trulove said, have great self-esteem. Because if they don't, that's going to lead to some questionable activity, need I say. And so in order for that not to happen, it takes a village, it takes the city, it takes the county, the state, nation, international, just to raise one child. Because if everybody is not working on the same page and everybody don't have the same goal, it is going to crumble, and you are going to have, you ain't going to have no, that's not going to be a child.
Okay,
I don't know what it's going to be.
All right, Ms. Hughes, thank you so much. We've got a few hands going up, and we, again, just be mindful of the time. Thank you. I love that you said, their fathers are not bad. They're just a little absent. I like that positive spin on it. And that's one thing I can say about this entire panel. We've been on this call or on this Zoom meeting since 8 o'clock, and I haven't heard anything negative about the fathers or the co-parents that you are working with, or maybe not working with. And so I have a great deal of appreciation for that. I know a lot of the men who are watching also have appreciation for this not being a man bashing or father bashing session, because I'm sure when they saw the title and it was a bunch of women on here, that was the assumption. So thank you all for being able to turn that around and not put our Black men down who are struggling to be present in their children's lives. So, all right, Miss, I think I saw Miss Chandler, and also it seems like maybe everybody has something to say. Okay, go ahead, Miss Chandler, about 1 minute, please.
1 minute. Keep me up. Okay, so I know we were talking about it's a village, it takes a village, and some of the women on here, we've talked about who our village, who's a part of our village. And I don't know if this is part of your questions that you have later, but if there's someone that's watching who wants to know how to find that village, because there are some people who don't have anyone. And so if we could leave some tips for them to actually start a village or reach out in the community or their schools or different resources and organizations, so they will feel like, hey, this is my village. We have cousins, uncles, brothers and people like that, but there are some people out there who do not have a village. And I know I'm still raising my children, so I would love to hear just some tips that we can offer for those parents who are looking for a village.
Okay, thank you so much. I agree with that. Miss Taylor, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead.
And that was what I was actually going to say. So she kind of hit it on the head. For me, I wasn't going to just talk about who my village was. I was going to talk about it takes more than just having a village. You have to have the right type of village, people who have the right values and morals that you have. So for me, my village, when my daughter was growing up, I found mothers that they started out with mothers that just worked in the same field as me. It was single mom. I was a single mom. We both took our kids to find free functions all over the world. I think our children learned how to swim for $10 every summer, just $10 for every 2 weeks, going to community pools, just us pulling together as single moms together, just trying to find things for our kids to do so we can actively be involved in their lives. My daughter's godmother, who has been pivotal to her. I just think that when you decide to get a village, because when I listened on Tuesday to the last panel, that was one of the things that I felt like was missing a little bit. Like, people had villages, but sometimes it wasn't the right type of village. Like, you can just get anybody that can watch your child, but you need to get a person that's going to watch your child, that's going to have the same values as you, that's going to discipline the child the way that you would discipline the child. And that was the type of village that I was in search for. And I found that. And the best part about it has been a village that's held for 18 years. So I would suggest that as a single mom, you look at those avenues. Like, if your child is interested in sports, my daughter played soccer. I had a village there of women that I made sure that I just didn't send my daughter around them. I went and I fellowshiped with them and we communicated. I got to see how they raised their kids. I got to see if that's something I wanted my daughter to be around. If it came down to education, I made sure that I showed up to all the PTA meetings. I made time to show up so I could see other parents at the PTA meetings, and I could see how they raised their kids and how they cared about their kids, so I could reach out to those type of parents. So if I was going to give anybody advice, I would just make sure that the village that you pick is a right village, one that would influence your child to go down positive avenues.
Great. Thank you. That's really good. That's really good advice. We have about 2 minutes before 9 o'clock, and then we will go ahead and introduce Mr. Gerald. Anybody have anything? Dr. Linebarger, I feel like it's itching. You got something to say.
So go ahead, Dr. Trulove. She had her hand
Oh,
up.
Dr.
I was going to say, what happens when you don't have a village? What happens when you need that mentor in front of your son that's not around? I've lived hours away from my family for a long time. So what did I do? I mean, every summer, of course, we're at Vacation Bible School. We're here, we're there, but I'm always looking for people who can pour into him. And I went to the YouTube. I had him writing, you got to find 5 famous Black men a day, or you want to find, and we would talk about that, because if you don't have that access to a person, then you can still expose them to other people who, you know, he could probably, oh, I do want to do that. Now you want to go into engineering, let's look at historically Black colleges. Let's look at universities. Let's see, you know, what this policeman is doing. I mean, it may not be, but just for them to have somebody to say, that is, I want to be, I like what they have. So to bring all those characteristics to them is very important. And one thing I wanted to also add about, she said about the negativity and the fathers. With my ex-husband, I'm thankful for him. My son has actually gone to live with him on June the 10th at 13 because my son was starting to get angry and acting. And I've never, that's probably the hardest decision I've ever made as a mother, because I've always had my 3 children under the same roof. But I knew that it was something that he needed that I could not give him, you know, no matter what our issues were. So that's another layer of some, you know, you have to put yourself aside as a single parent, and, you know, take that help. Make sure the people that you're coming around is not, you know, no, you can't watch my son or keep my children, but what kind of values can you pour into them? What can you give them that's going to help them in the future? So I was just going to comment on that, but that was
Wow. That took a lot of courage and a lot of vulnerability for you to make that decision. So hats off to you.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Linebarger.
Hey, let me push in a little closer, really, to make somebody uncomfortable for a second, because that's why we're doing this panel, guys. And, you know, so ladies, why do you think there is a large number of men who decide not to be involved in the child's life? That's a question that people want to know. You know, it's kind of mind blowing. And I know we go through different things, but I'm not saying that they have to be with the woman or the wife. That's not what I'm saying. Because you can still support your child and pick up the phone. I saw it every day at my current job. There are a lot of fathers who did not make a lot of money, but they would walk right across from the mechanic shop. They'll check on their sons, or they may be in Mississippi somewhere. They'll call and say, hey, doc, let me talk to little Johnny or whatever. So what do you think? What do you guys think the problem is? What do you think the problem is?
Being too strong. I know my ex-husband would tell me, I know you got it. They're fine. They're with you. They're fine. No, we're not fine. I mean, you know, I have to be fine. So, but the assumption that you're doing it, you got it, you know, and I went through a whole phase of, could you just call every day? Could you just call and check on if they can just get a phone call from you? Can you just do, you know, and then it just got through to the point where, you know, that's where that mentoring comes in. That's when you have to kind of pull back and say, okay, I have it. And I think that's the thing with, I call them like a true single parent. It's like, there is no one but you. So am I dependent on him to do his part? I mean, do I beg him? Do I plead? Do I keep all this back and forth to court? No, I'm not doing all that to get you to parent. All I want is a consistent phone call. You know, I love you every day to the kid, to our children. I said the kid, you know, but I don't know if, because they're far removed, like they're not in the trenches of it every single day. So they don't get that, what it takes to do this. So I think it's almost like an out of sight, out of mind. At least, you know, that's my take on it. But you can't make them do anything. It's just parenting, I feel like, has to be in you. You have to, and me throwing it in your face every day is not beneficial, because then it causes other kind of animosity. So you just kind of, for me, I just kind of just pull back and just do it. You just got to do it. Just do what you got to do, if he's there or not.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I saw 2 hands. Ms. Barron?
Well, I can only speak from my son's father's perspective, or what I believe would be his perspective. He grew up in a household where his mom was a single mom. His dad did 20 years day for day in prison. So he had no idea of what it took to be a father, because his father wasn't around from a very young age up until an adult. So when we became parents, it was like, well, my mama did it all, you know, and we turned out okay. Well, that begs, you know, I can't 100% say that because of all the troubles that you encountered along the way. But what I can say is, whenever he did try to intervene. He might not come across as, he's not, you know, that very nice guy, you know, if he's upset about something. So when he went to the school, if there was an issue, well, he was looked at as the angry black man, you know, coming up to school, you know, but, or when the one time he did call the police because our son had taken the car and I asked him to come, you know, assist with that. Well, he called the police. The police, first thing they want to do, they look at his past record. Well, they want to arrest him, you know, so it was like, well, I'm trying to do my job, you know, but you're looking at me. So it makes me want to run away from doing my job, you know? So, I mean, he's kind of checked out after that point, you know, and that's what made me actually start opening up to my village, you know, because I had been keeping it private just because I'm a private person at heart. I don't like sharing anything and I like to be independent. But there came a time when I was like, nah, this is bigger than me. I need some help. So I started reaching out to uncles to, you know, and open it up to my family. Well, I always talked to them, but I just didn't talk to them about this is the situation and I need help.
Okay. Thank you so much. I saw Ms. Chandler and also Ms. Tyson. It looks like you had something as well. All right, real quick, ladies.
I'll make it real quick. Just, you know, not to be negative, but I think first of all, we should probably ask them that question. Why are they not involved? It's so many different layers to this question. For one, just breaking the stigmas, whether they, men did grow up in a single parent home. You know, one would think that you would want to break that cycle. As a mother, you know, growing up, I didn't have my parents. I didn't have my mom. She was in and out. I lived with her. I didn't have my dad. They got a divorce when I was really young. And I have a child coming, 1 second. When we were really young, but I made a vow to make sure, you know, I took care of my children, you know, no matter what. So in a way, I kind of feel like it's selfish. And when you see that you went through those things and you know how it feels, you should want to do better. And if you don't know how to be a parent, there's so many different things out there that can actually help you. So it's so many layers, but I'm not going to take all the time. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Chandler. Thank you. All right, Ms. Tice.
Okay, I'll be real quick. I think that we're kind of saying the same things, just like Q was saying. I was going to say there are so many layers to that. I think a lot of times, you know, and not making excuses, but I think a lot of times they don't know exactly what to do because as mothers, when we have our children, you know, we can be, you know, we become mama bear. And so I think sometimes that you know, it's a my child thing and they don't know how to get through that part, you know, and there are instances when there's, you know, bitterness and all that other stuff too, you know, that we, you know, may keep them from them and stuff like that, but not, you know, talking about those things. I think that they need us to help them break those barriers, and because we are usually more capable of communicating with our children than they are. So, you know, I could just speak for my personal experience, you know, where I had to get to a point where I was telling my son's father, you know, when he was old enough, he had a phone and he would call me and ask me about it. And I'm like, well, call him, you know, you call him and ask him, or if, you know, just to put that ball back in their court, to allow that, and to always be welcoming, no matter what we went through, no matter what day I, you know, didn't particularly care for him. I never, ever once denied him to see his son, no matter what. He could always come see him. He could always come and pick him up. He could, you know, I would meet him halfway with him, no matter what he was doing or not doing or whatever. You know, we've always had that. And I think that, you know, as mothers, since we know how to communicate better, and we know, you know, what our children need in those moments, we need to create a space to allow it. Okay. And if we allow it, then maybe there'll be more, you know.
Yeah. It can be hard to trust hardly anybody else with your babies, you know. All right, Miss Taylor, we're going to move on to you, and then after you, we will go straight to Mr. Gerald or Mr. Reed. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I just wanted to add to the comment from two different perspectives. For me, my parents divorced when I was younger. So when I got married to my daughter's father, we kind of made a vow to each other that no matter what happened between us, because we both came from broken homes, that we wouldn't, no matter what it was, we wouldn't, I guess, neglect each other from being a responsibility of being a parent. So I think we both done a good job with that, and we've equally been a part of her life. So I didn't allow him to skip out on being a father, and vice versa. He didn't allow me to skip out on being a mom. But however, I've had a lot of male friends that I know they've run across with certain females. There's bitterness and anger, and that sometimes can keep people from being fathered when you shelter people from holding their responsibilities. I can say that for me, there was a point in time to where I was just single parenting it on my own. He was really bitter about the breakup and the marriage, and he didn't want to do stuff. And of course, I held him to that same promise that we made, which is, hey, you're going to be a father. I'm not going to tell you anything. If it's important enough to you, you're going to be there, you're going to be present, and you're going to be available. So I held him to his word. So sometimes it may be hard to do, but as parents, we have to hold each other accountable, because it took two people to make one person. And sometimes even when we don't want to, in those moments, you still have to make sure that the other person is accountable for their role as being a parent.
All right, I agree. Thank you so much. All righty. Thank you all so much for your input. I think tonight has gone very well so far. We have one gentleman on the panel, and this is Mr. Reed. If you don't mind introducing yourself, tell us why you wanted to be a part of the conversation, and just give us your side of the story on these things.
Well, good evening, ladies. My name is Gerald Reed. I'm from Tuscaloosa. Let me see. Went to UA, got a nice little business I run down in Tuscaloosa, and I work in insurance. The reason why I want to be a part of this is because of the negative stigma and the negative society perception of single dads. A lot of times, and I'm in school. I'm in law school right now. And a lot of times when I'm in law school, I'm looking for scholarships, or I'm looking for a way to pay for this. I see a lot of scholarships for single moms, and I'll email the contact and I'll say, hey, can a single dad apply for this? And they'll be like, no, this is for single moms only. Or no, we didn't think about single dads. But there is a misconception about us. There's a misconception about who we are and what we do. And I've had my daughter, I've custody of my 14-year-old daughter. I have a 4-year-old son who lives out of state. And my daughter has been with me for 11 years. I got custody of her. I got full custody of her when she was 3.5. And I think somebody had touched on the society stigma about single moms. Well, single dads always get ignored. It's like everybody says single mom, or single black mom, but you don't hear anything too much about single black dad. And I was talking to my mentor, and who was also a part of my child's life. And I was explaining to him, I was like, the last time you saw a single dad that was represented in a positive light on television was the first Steve Harvey show, which nobody remembers. Well, few people remember. But, it's like we get a bad rap. I've had to fight the state of Alabama's DHR. I've had to fight the state of Alabama. I've had to go up to my child's school and request for a teacher to be fired because of comments and statements that were made and directed at my daughter because she was being raised in a single parent household, a single father household, a single black father household. I literally go up to the school first of the year, introduce myself to everyone, from the principal all the way down to the janitor. And because of my size and my vocab and the way I articulate my words, they understand from day one, hey, I'm gonna be here. B, you're not gonna mess with my child. C, my child ain't gonna act a certain way. If she does, let me know. And I do explain to them, the whole thing about the child having two different names, or the child and parent having different names. I explain to them that I'm Reed, she's Taylor. I do all that. But you all say a lot of schools, or somebody mentioned about schools. I did take notes, so I'm reading my notes. Being a part of a child's life and school not calling. Trust me, they call. They will call me in a heartbeat. Hold on, this is her right now. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Come here, get in the picture. No, I'm not done. Say hey. All right, say bye. All right. All right, you can go to your room. Miss Chandler, I'm actually from Tuscaloosa, but I live in Alabaster. And there's a village. There's a huge village, but we're very particular with who I let contact my daughter. I think Kevel was the one that said something about expecting something in return. When men try to help you out with your child, we kind of expect something in return. I get what you're saying, but there's a double standard to this. There's a huge double standard that women are with that. Because in my experience, I've had a lot of women try to use my child as a back door to try to get to me. Because they're like, oh, he has a good job, he does this, he does that, so therefore he'll be a great catch, or he's good with kids. And they'll try to use my child and expect for us to end up together. That's not how this plays out. There is a social belief, and like I said earlier, I've had to fight the state. I've had to fight DHR. There's a social belief, and it's amongst DHR, because I've had people from DHR or who used to work from DHR explain that if you're a black male and you end up with custody of a female, a little girl, DHR is going to ride you. And they're going to ride you because they expect for you to end up molesting the child. And there are certain educators. You would not believe how many people I ran into that had master's degrees, that had PhD, EDS. They have all this education, but they don't have enough sense to not believe that a single black dad who has a female, a little girl, is not going to molest them. And that's actually a reality. Like, there's a certain way I have to conduct myself we will have to conduct ourselves when we were going to PTA meetings, and we'll be at school functions, and we'll be out in society, versus how we have to do it at home. Because people will try to make up a story off of anything, and they'll remember what they want to remember. They'll see what they want to see. They'll hear what they want to hear, and report that.
Okay.
So
we got about another minute and a half, Mr. Reed. I think we had another guest, but I do want you to finish your thought on that.
All right, but the whole thing about men being in a child's life, there's multiple factors with that. There's sometimes a woman can sit there and there's miscommunication between a man and a woman, and the man will sit there and take it like, let me back off for a minute. Sometimes it's self-loathing, and sometimes it's to avoid drama with the baby mama and her possible new partner. There's a lot of different reasons why men don't want to be a part of, or men will try to shy away from that whole situation.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And certainly your input in this conversation is valued. So thank you for showing up and sharing your perspective. All right. So we have a guest that has called in, Miss McMullen, who would also like to chime in and give some key points in terms of her experience with motherhood, and maybe comment on some of what has already been said. So if we could give her the floor for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will start trying to wrap up the call. Okay, Ms. McMullen, the floor is yours. You have to unmute the phone. I think it's star 67 if you want to unmute.
Hello,
Hello, we can hear you.
you can hear me now. Hi, my name is
Yes, ma'am.
Nina McMullen, and I'm blessed to call Dr. Monty Linebarger my son. And I apologize, for coming on late, and I wasn't able to hear all the comments that was made earlier, but I was able to hear the comments that was made on Tuesday. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations to all the mothers, as well as the fathers that have been on line, that you was blessed to have a gift. And so I say congratulations to you. Just a little bit about me, that I was blessed probably 40 plus years ago at the age of 13 to have a son, and my son is Monty. And during that time, I was blessed with a community, with a community of women, which include my mother, my aunt, my grandmother, as well as my sisters and cousins. And they supported me, and they helped me take care of my son, as well as, throughout his life, they have been the village in taking care of us. It has been and it was a struggle throughout that time, because of the fact, of course, as you all probably know, 40 plus years ago, it was almost like a prison sentence for a 13-year-old to get pregnant. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I want to be on the positive side. But then on the positive side, with the village we were successful, I call to accept the gift as well as the blessing of the child. And through that, I would like to also say that that my first teacher was my mom. And therefore, I think I want to encourage, the mothers that's on the line, as well as people who are listening, that remember the things that our village, our mother, our aunts, and our grandparents, the things that they taught us are the things that we saw them do. Those are the things that we're going to do, whether good or bad, and hopefully it was more good, and deciding how to parent. And also, I would like to just kind of go over 7 things that I did learn from my mom, as well as remembered from my mom and from my village during the season of rearing not only Monty, but I also have a daughter in rearing my children. First thing I remembered was that to remind them that they are beautiful and they are wonderfully made by God. So constantly and continuously, I reminded, that they were, a gift from God. The second thing is that I as a parent, as a single parent, was reminded to make peace from my past and move forward in godly wisdom. So remember the things that happened, but then just keep my mind on, how the future was going to be bright. The third thing I always remember is cleanliness. And it's one of the number one things I wanted to bring out is that you're going to have to keep positive things, and you're going to have to bring as much order as you can continue in your life. And the fourth thing is don't allow money or people to tamper with your salvation. And with that, meaning that you can't always sometimes believe what you see. As we talk about single parenthood, one point that I wanted to bring out is sometimes we think that single parenthood mean that it's just only a mother there. But sometimes, even when there's mother and father there rearing the kids, that mother is really rearing that kid by themselves. We don't know because of the fact sometimes we don't know what's happening in relationships. So it's good to not keep your eye on and listen to what a lot of people say. Sometimes it's just positive to just keep your eye on what you're doing. Because of the fact when you're looking at other couples and when you're looking at other children and say, oh, they got a mom and a dad, sometimes it's a misconception. And I learned that later on in the season. But earlier, I was saying, maybe my kids have a disadvantage because of the fact I'm a single mom. But I found out later, it's a lot of kids that reared in a mom and a daddy situation, but they only had their mom. Or they maybe only had their daddy. So they was just as, our family was. It was a single mom with another person just being there. So sometimes, you just can't believe what you see. Don't allow people and what you see from people to do. Don't compare your life with others. And that also associated with that. Because your journey is your journey. And other people's journey is nothing at all like yours. People can encourage you with positive and motivate you with things, but your journey is your journey. And so therefore, you need to keep your eye on your prize, on your goals that you're making. Number one thing that I learned through my journey as being a single mom is families should always stay together. So therefore, you need to talk to your kids, encourage your kids, and talk to them about loving each other, staying and supporting each other. Also, continue to, as I said, remind your kids that life is a precious gift. So we should be, thankful that we're all here, whether it's mother, father, or mother, children. We should just always remind ourselves that, our life is a precious gift. And so therefore, we should cherish that. And the last thing I want to share with you, because many people are asking me, how was it rearing Dr. Linebarger? Dr. Linebarger, he was born 2 months early. Had to stay at the hospital for about 3 months after birth. But once he came home, he always had that smile. So if anybody know Dr. Linebarger, they know he got that smile. So once he did come home, he came home with that smile. He always was a happy baby. He always was a happy child, just always happy. He was always I won't say always, but I say the majority of the time he was a good little boy. But of course, he, as well as, with all kids, have challenges. He was easily motivated and easily directed. And so, therefore, I always remember this one little story that he reminded me of is about a chicken story. As I say, we had a village, meaning my mother, my sisters, and my brother, my grandmother. And the chicken story was basically that he shared in his perspective was that he remembered sitting up under the tree with my grandmother, which was his great-grandmother, and seeing that his grandmother, she believed in farming and she believed in living off the land. And one of the things she liked to do was buy live chicken and basically wringing the chicken's neck and putting them in hot water, and then, of course, frying them up for dinner. And he shared, as well as I shared, that if a person can endure that and do that to a chicken, just imagine what they'll do to me or do to him or do to anybody if they did not do the right thing. And so I think my grandmother, his grandmother, as well as my mom, put the fear of God in all of us. And so I think that kind of helped us get on the right road when we was not on the right road. But that just basically what I like to share and encourage and continue to provide encouragement to single parents as well as to parents that, you know, have a partner there with them. That it takes a village, but we just, you know, it's just a process. Unfortunately, even as a 13-year-old mom, even as a 33-year-old mom, or 20-year-old mom, there's no books. If there are books, there's not enough books. There's not enough mentors. There's not enough people in the village to provide parenting lesson and encouragement. So therefore, we who have went through this gonna have to continue to be mentors, provide encouragement in order to help the next generation. And that's all, unless someone have questions for me.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. I told Dr. Linebarger in the private chat, I was like, oh, that was such a pleasant surprise to have your mom come on. And I had some people agree with me there. So thank you so much for your words of wisdom and for sharing everything that you had that we value so much and are so grateful for. So I think that was a great way to end our Zoom meeting. I certainly have enjoyed hearing all of the words of wisdom and your different experiences. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Champion Principal, aka Dr. Linebarger. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, you guys did an amazing job. Amazing panel. Your stories inspired all of us. We could have talked about this for 2 or 3 more hours, but we got to go to bed tonight. We will continue this conversation. We will have we will, I guess we'll wait another week or so and we'll continue to give you another opportunity to share more and more. But again, you got a lot of great reviews out there in social media world. I think you're doing a great job to help other people who are going through the same things that you're going through. One of the takeaways was that the people out there in Facebook land, they want to create like a document with resources. So guys, start thinking about a document that we can create with resources so we can share with the other mothers out there. Again, thank you for being amazing. Thank you to my mom. I love you. I appreciate you for not giving up on me. And don't believe this. I think I was more bad than good. It was a balance, guys. I don't even want to fool you. But we did get whoopings, and I do remember that chicken. So just imagine that chicken. She taking that chicken and rattle his neck and cut his head off. That'll put you in check quick. Mothers, you're awesome. We appreciate you. We love you. Good night. Take care.